My IELTS success story. I think this is the first time I'm doing this. Well, the purpose is to inspire you. I know there are a lot of people out there who are willing to write these exams but are scared. And I also know people who are in it but are scared of failing. So, what if I tell you that after watching this video to the end, my story can inspire you to push all out, no matter the obstacles, no matter the struggles, no matter the challenges, no matter the low marks you are getting. Welcome back. If you are new to my channel, my name is Kwachuma. You can simply call me Kobe. And if today is your first time in here, I strongly believe that you have not subscribed to this channel yet. So please hit the subscribe button and become part of the family. We learn together. My success story. IELTS was not easy for me, just as it is not easy for you. It's normal, okay, to feel scared. It's normal to think of quitting. It's normal to obviously not feel like practicing sometimes. When I had a desire to write IELTS, I had no practice materials. But an idea came to mind. The idea was to book for the test, disregarding the fact that I haven't got practice materials. What was the motivation? I didn't really know. But what I would say is that decision did help me. If not, I would have quitted IELTS long before time. Okay, so now this is me. I've registered for IELTS without even having practice materials. British Council gave me a quota package of their practice materials, which wasn't even enough. I called this person and said, I've registered for IELTS. And he was like, are you sure you can pass these exams? You never even had to practice for some time to check if you can really do it or not. So at that point, I felt so discouraged. That was where the first idea to quit IELTS came to mind. I picked a sheet of paper. Then this is what I did. I started writing some positive affirmations and declarations. And I remember looking back on my background and the reason why I had to register for the IELTS. I put like 10 declarations on there and then pasted it on the wall. So that served as my first source of motivation. I was not going to give up, no matter the fact that I don't even have practice materials, no matter the fact that I've not even had time to check if I could pass these exams or not. The idea was to wake up every morning and declare those positive affirmations to myself, and that was what I kept doing. It wasn't really easy, but then those positive declarations about me wanting to change my life after passing IELTS was something that kept me in the game. Now let's talk about me getting practice materials. Remember, I had booked for the test. British Council had given me a quota package, just a tiny bit, and that was even online. I couldn't print them for my practice because I was going to do the paper-based test. I had to put course through to friends I know. I spoke to this friend who happens to be my classmate, and he was like, he knows somebody at the place I did my national service, so if I can contact him, he'll be able to get me the practice materials. So I quickly put a call through, and then he was like, okay, so this is where we meet for practice. So at 2 p.m. you can come over and then get the practice materials, come with a pen drive. So I went in there and then had loads of practice materials, which was much easier for me to start practice with. So for me, this is how I got enough practice materials to begin with. Now, the practice session. Before that, I've watched a couple of videos on YouTube about how the listening test is like, how the reading test is like, how the writing test and all those stuff looks like. But then it was very difficult for me doing the practice with the YouTube videos because, I felt like I was going to do the paper-based test and I should have the paper, the physical stuff in front of me and then practicing with it. The next day, when I had got all these practice materials, I traveled to the next town to do a bulk printing, and then printed from Cambridge 1 to I think Cambridge 7 or Cambridge 8, which meant that I'd got enough practice material to practice with. Whether I want to do it in the morning, I want to do it in the afternoon, at dawn, they were readily available for me to practice with. So the question is, would I advise you do this? So yeah, I would advise you do this because you see, if you are doing the paper-based test, obviously you'll be doing stars on the paper. So it's better you have enough of them there so that whatever time you get, you can just jump onto it and then start practicing. Because let's say if you want to do practice at dawn, printing press should be closed by then. So the question is, how do you practice? So at the point, I also felt like the printing was taking too much of my money, so I needed to come up with a different strategy. So what I did was I bought a printer on Jumia. As at that time, I remember it was 135 Ghana cedis. Bought a bit of sheet of paper, probably A4 sheets, and there I had my own printer that I was ready to print with. This was a bit of investment I did just to get enough practice materials for myself, because I was willing to sacrifice. I was willing to put my all. I was willing to do everything possible to pass these exams on the first attempt. So the question is, should you invest in a printer? This is a decision you have to make. It depends on how much money you are investing in printing papers. You just have to look at that, sit down and then calculate the cost and see which one is better. Do you have to buy a printer and then be doing the printing on your own? Or you have to just go to the printing press and print? Just check all those stuff. Now, my first practice, this is where things got tougher. I did start with the reading test, and okay, so what happened was I used 4 hours for my reading test, and out of that I had 19 out of 40. This nearly broke me, and that's at that point, if I had not registered for the exams, like I wouldn't even continue any longer. I'm supposed to use 1 hour to answer 40 questions, and here's the case, I'm using 4 hours to answer 40 questions and then coming up with a mark of 19. How possible is this? How should this encourage me to continue? So I remember just slamming the paper somewhere, and I began thinking, asking myself questions. So you see that I'm going to waste away money. Is there a way I can get my money from British Council and not continue with this? And that is where I felt like the zeal that made me register, even at the point of me not getting practice materials, was so important. Because if I had not done that, I would have given up. And that is what is happening to most people. When they do 1 or 2 practices and they are not getting the score they are looking out for, they just back off. They just say to themselves, this is not for me, I can't pass, so I'm not doing anything longer. And that's the same way I felt at that time. But what kept me in the game was the fact that I had already paid for the registration fee, and there was no way I was going to get a refund. I went forward to look at my positive affirmations that have been pasted on the wall. I have to pass at all costs, because if I fail, I have no other money to re-register. I also have to build connections. I also have to look at friends who have passed the IELTS and then communicate with them, because I'll need somebody to proofread my writing test. I'll need somebody to share with me his experience about the listening test, the reading test, and the speaking test. I'll need somebody to practice the speaking test with. I also had to leverage YouTube videos and other online platforms, free online platforms. There were times that British Council organized training courses which I had to attend, and they were all helpful. They were all building me up. As time went by, I was gradually seeing improvement. I got to realize that I was having a strong hold to the listening test, which meant that I could just reduce the time I allocate to the listening test and then focus on those areas I had difficulty in, especially the reading test. So this is one thing I would advise you do. As and when you keep on practicing, just make sure that you are fishing out where your strength is and then where your weaknesses are. This is very necessary because it will help you to allocate enough time to the area you have weaknesses in. On and on, people were assessing my writing test. I was having a bit of practice with people about the speaking test and then giving me feedback, and the day was still. A few days before the exams, I felt like I was inadequate. What do I mean by this? I felt like I've not practiced enough. I mean, there were more to do and that I'm likely to fail. This is a feeling of inadequacy. That is how I call it. And it's normal for every IELTS taker, no matter how many weeks, how many years. If like use 10 years to prepare, when the time is getting closer, you still feel like you have not done enough. That is normal. And what I advise you do is that you should have a strategy before your examination time is due. So it should be a strategy that helps you to manage your time properly and also helps you to get your answers on time. This should be your motivating factor, as well as the reasons for which you want to write these exams. So these are the bits and pieces I would like to share with you. I believe that there are 1 or 2 pieces of advice you can pick to add to whatever you already have, so that it helps you to achieve the score you are looking out for. What I would say is that all the best in your exams, and I hope to see you come up with flying colors.